Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining me again. We have some fun projects to tackle today. My first seeds arrived from Johnny's Seeds this morning. They are right here, and we will open this box a little later. But this means I need to tidy up the grow room that you and I created together last year. I have some African violets over there that I propagated from leaves, and so we need to deal with those African violets. And then we need to make a short trip to a local store to buy some seed starting supplies. But first, I want to get cracking on a loaf of French sandwich bread. French sandwich bread is my favorite bread for tea sandwiches and toast and croutons and fancy canapes and all kinds of things. The bread is baked in an old-fashioned covered loaf pan. And this lid stops the bread from forming a crown. So if you are using the bread for tea sandwiches, it's very easy to remove the crust with minimal waste. I need to refill my flour container. Because I do a lot of baking, I like to buy flour in bulk. I store the flour in the old north wing of this house in airtight food-grade buckets. It's easy enough to refill the glass flour bin that I keep in my kitchen. The printable recipe for this French sandwich bread is on my website, so I will link that recipe in the description below so you don't have to write anything down. I need to weigh out my flour. Put this away. Active dry yeast, which I will dissolve in very warm water. Whole milk that I will warm in the microwave. I want the milk to achieve a temperature of around 105 degrees Fahrenheit. The best way to determine if the milk has achieved the proper temperature is to check it with a thermometer. I would be lost without this digital thermometer. I also need some butter, cold butter, but I'm going to mash it just to make it malleable. My butter is nice and malleable now, but it's not melted. It's not greasy. We don't want a greasy bread dough. I have mixed and kneaded this dough entirely by hand, but today I'm going to use my stand mixer, which is outfitted with the dough hook. We can add the yeast mixture and salt. Bread without salt is extremely bland. Give this a quick mix. We are all mixed here. So now I'm going to begin kneading the dough first for just 2 minutes. Then I will give the dough a 2-minute rest. We have kneaded for 2 minutes. So now I will give the dough a 2-minute rest while I finish my coffee. My dough is rested. I am caffeinated. So now we can turn the machine on to low and start adding the butter in half-teaspoon increments. Our butter is all incorporated at this point, and the dough is sticky but very elastic. Let me grab my marble board. I want to only lightly flour my board. And then we can scrape this dough onto the board. Tiny amount of flour on top. And then can pat the dough out and then fold it over on itself 3 times. As if you were folding a business letter. As if anyone still remembers how to fold a business letter. And then we can transfer the dough to a lightly greased bowl, flip to grease the other side, cover the bowl. I'm using a damp towel here. And then we will put this in a warm location until the dough has doubled in volume. That will take from 90 minutes to 2 hours. And while the dough is rising, I'm going to clean up my workstation, and then we can make a short trip to a local shop to buy some seed starting supplies. It feels great to be able to do a little gardening today, even though we are months away from being able to plant outdoors. My local discount store has a full supply of seeds that were packed for 2025. The sight of all these seed envelopes brings me unbelievable joy. In the comments, let me know if you, too, are itching to start gardening again. We are home again, but before we can go into the grow room, I need to first check on the dough. Peekaboo, yes, we have certainly doubled in volume. Need my marble board, a tiny amount of flour for my board. On goes the dough. Pat it out. And then I want this dough to be the same width as my pan de mie pan or Pullman pan. And then I take the 2 ends, fold them over, and then I roll tightly like this. Roll, and then I use my thumbs to seal the dough after each fold or roll. Roll, push, roll, push, roll, push. And I can pinch together this last seam. Tuck the ends in. Then we can pop this into the pan, which I am going to just lightly grease. I'm going to do this at the sink. And in it goes. Cover with a damp towel as before. And then we can let the dough rest until it has doubled in volume. That will take from 30 to 45 minutes this time. And while we wait on the dough, let's head over to the grow room. So this is the grow station that you and I created together about a year ago at this time. The lights are truly wonderful for the plants, and I can link the lights in the description box below if you are interested. But this area is a mess right now, so I just need to do a little tidying up. My grow room is the former dairy pantry for this 19th century house. The pantry overlooks my small herb garden, which is currently covered in snow. I'm going to bring these African violets and geraniums and a seed starting tray or 2 into the kitchen because I have a larger work area there. I'm going to make a great big mess, so this old landscape fabric will help to contain the mess. So let me show you the seeds that arrived this morning from Johnny's Seeds. It's my first delivery. This is very exciting for me. So I have snapdragon and onion seeds. Johnny's does not put a color picture on its seed packets, So we will include a picture from Johnny's website that we can put up on the screen. So I have hybrid Snapdragon Legend White Flower, hybrid Snapdragon Madame Butterfly Rose, Snapdragon Madame Butterfly Pink. I think these might be double-flowered snapdragons, and that's why I bought so many of them. Snapdragon Potomac Yellow. These are pelleted seeds. And Potomac Lavender Snapdragon, also pelleted seeds. And for the onions, I have hybrid white. It's Sierra Blanca is the name. Red Cabernet and yellow Patterson. Now, I ordered onion seeds because last year, and actually for several years, I've looked for certain varieties of already grown onion seedlings at local nurseries, and I could not find any of these varieties. These onion varieties are all great for storage. And today, we are going to start planting the onion seeds. I live in Zone 6, and the time to start onion seeds under lights is in late January or early February. Today is January 27th, so we're right on time. So I have some dried out seed starting mix here. This is nothing more than peat moss and perlite. And to the peat and perlite, I'm going to add some professional grade vermiculite. Vermiculite is a completely natural substance. I think it's mica. And it holds several times its weight in water. So the seed starting mix will stay moist for a longer period once I've added the vermiculite. Mix this in. And I want to moisten this mixture with warm water. And then we can go in and pretend that we are making mud pies. Warm or even hot water is best for moistening dried out peat moss. I would be doing this job outside, except we have snow, and the temperature right now, I think, is 16 degrees Fahrenheit. Far too cold to be working outdoors. And now that my customized seed starting mixture is moistened, we can fill these seed starting cells. Now, these are large cells, so I'm going to use them for the onions. You can plant several onion seeds per cell. This is a great wintertime activity. Lizette just mentioned that this soilless mix has a very earthy scent, and it does. It smells like the spring garden after a rain. You know what else smells great? Is that French sandwich bread dough that is rising. It's got a wonderful yeasty perfume. Wish you could be here right now. In fact, I wish you lived with me. Now we are ready to start planting the onion seeds. I won't label every seed tray, but I will label the side of the tray with some white masking tape. So I will do 6 cells of one type of onion and another 6 cells with another type. And then I will have 6 more cells over here. And the varieties are Patterson, Cabernet, and Sierra Blanca. I'm going to plant between 6 and 8 onion seeds per each cell. Actually, I'm not even going to attempt to count the number of seeds per cell. I'm just sprinkling quite a few seeds in each cell. And finally, Sierra Blanca, a white storage onion. Well, all of these are good storage onions. Instead of pressing these seeds down into the potting mix or covering them with additional mix, I'm going to cover them lightly with vermiculite. A light covering of vermiculite stops the formation of algae on the surface of the potting or seed starting mix. Vermiculite is an excellent product. And just like that, our 2025 onion crop is planted. We will bring these under lights in just a little bit. I don't have to plant the snapdragon seeds just yet. Snapdragons can be planted 8 to 10 weeks before the last average frost date, which for me, I think is May 15th. So I can plant snapdragons as late as March 15th. Now we have to deal with these African violets. Now these are violets that I either divided from very large plants or which I started from a single leaf cutting. I also have my pelargoniums or geraniums, which I will set over here. Now, if you take an African violet leaf, actually it's called a petiole, and you put it into potting mix, it will eventually produce baby African violets. And you'll be able to see that right here. This is the mother leaf, meaning the leaf that I planted. And then behind her are her babies. And an African violet leaf never produces just one baby. Usually produces 6 to 8, sometimes as many as 15. I'm going to detach the mother, and then we have to separate the babies into rosettes. I think that's just one here. Of course, these all have roots now. Well, it looks like this mother leaf only had twins, and then we can pot those up. I'm going to use the same mix that we use to start the onion seeds. These are 4-inch pots. I could actually put these in 2-inch pots, but I don't have any. In you go. And this baby African violet is ready to start its glorious career. The mother leaf can be repotted if she's still in good shape, and she will produce yet more babies. Here's an African violet that I divided, and it looks like it needs to be divided yet again. And I should mention that these African violets started blooming almost immediately once I put them under lights in the grow room. They really love those lights. This. Now, sadly, we are supposed to remove any existing flowers so that the divided African violet can focus its energy on root production, but I'm going to break that rule. I want to keep that flower here. Here's a rosette that I removed, and unfortunately, I had to cut it off without any roots. That's perfectly fine. It will root readily in nothing more than vermiculite once I've moistened the vermiculite. Vermiculite is very lightweight. Roots have no trouble moving through it. And then to start more African violet plants, you simply take a leaf. Again, this is referred to as a petiole. Pop it into vermiculite. Firm the vermiculite around the petiole. And in about 2 months, you will have African violet babies growing. And then I simply have these regal geraniums or pelargoniums. that need nothing more than a light cleaning up. And I noticed some of the leaves have turned yellow at the edge. I think that's because I was not fertilizing these pelargoniums enough. So I will try to be better about fertilization. Okay. We have planted our onion seeds. We have cleaned up the pelargoniums. We have separated and even propagated some of the African violets. I'm going to clean up my workstation, going to wash my hands, and then we can get ready to bake off the bread. Well, we finished that little gardening project in the nick of time because, as you can see, our bread dough has reached nearly the top of the pan. So I'm going to slide on the lid and then pop this into the oven for 40 minutes. And again, the recipe is on my website, and it's written in cups and grams and tablespoons and milliliters and Celsius and Fahrenheit. And while we wait for the bread to bake, we can bring all of our gardening goodies under lights. Now, I want to disinfect my workstation. I use something called stearamine. They're tablets that you dissolve in water. When this workstation air dries, it will be totally disinfected. The bread is almost finished baking, and let me tell you, this kitchen smells like a French bakery. There's the bread. And here's the grand reveal. It is just perfect. So you can see there is no crown on this bread. It's very easy to remove the crust if you decide to remove the crust. I want to unmold this, and then I'm going to let this cool for a bit, but not completely, because it's nearly tea time. I want to enjoy some warm bread with some good butter and some homemade strawberry jam for tea time. So let's light a fire in the parlor. And this is some of the wonderful strawberry jam that you and I made together last summer at the height of strawberry season. So we don't always need scones and little tea sandwiches and little petit four for afternoon tea. We can simply have jam and bread. Do-re-mi. I think Irish breakfast will go very well with our jam and bread. I love this sterling silver teapot that was made in 1901 because it keeps the tea very hot. I'm out of Irish breakfast tea, which means I need to make another trip to Tierra Farm. I need some napkins to go with our tea. And I want to thank viewer Gloria, who sent all of these gorgeous tea napkins at Christmas time. In a card, she said that she had been stuck on a long flight, and so she stitched these holiday napkins and sent them to my P.O. box. Thank you so much, Gloria. Into the parlor. A taste of this gorgeous French sandwich bread. This French sandwich bread is better than any other sandwich bread I have ever tried. And I have tried a lot of different sandwich breads. It's yeasty, it's buttery, and it has that moist, soft crumb. And it happens to go very well with Irish breakfast tea. Thank you for allowing me into your home a couple of times each week. I am truly honored. Also, thank you for spending time with me today as we made this wonderful French sandwich bread, and we shopped for some seed starting supplies, and we planted the onion seeds, and we dealt with some neglected African violets and geraniums. In the next video, we are going to make a romantic dinner. So I hope you will subscribe so you don't miss that episode. And until then, please treat yourself very well. Please give this French sandwich bread a try. The recipe is on my website, and I will link that recipe in the description below. And I will see you in the next episode. Bye for now, friends.